Meet Kim Jinwoo, an earthling summoned to Arsilan who's basically carrying the entire world on his back. He's out here staring down the literal apocalypse, dealing with this nasty creeping force called the erosion of ruin. The land is getting absolutely devoured, and Jinwoo's the only one standing between civilization and total annihilation. It's grim, honestly, because 90% of the planet is already gone, just wiped off the map. He's holding the line with a massive mana barrier, but even that's just a temporary band-aid on a gaping wound. The real problem is the pure mana stones fueling the shield are burning out. We're talking 3 years left, tops. Once that barrier drops, it's game over, with monsters ready to swarm in and slaughter whatever's left. He's walking through the woods, clearly feeling the weight of being the so-called immortal great mage. His disciple Tiris tries to butter him up with fancy titles, but Jinwoo's totally over the hero act. She's rightfully stressing because he keeps risking his neck out there, and honestly, who can blame her for worrying? Tiris drops the bomb that an official summons has been issued, and honestly, the vibe is getting real tense. Jinwoo's staring into the abyss of the erosion, admitting he's got zero answers for this world-ending nightmare. He knows the locals are basically toast if they step into the corruption, since their souls just can't handle the heat. Being an earthling is his only cheat code, letting him walk through the decay like it's a casual stroll. He's literally built different, absorbing that nasty erosion energy to juice up his own soul power. But he's not delusional, knowing one guy, even a mage, can't stop a million monsters without a legendary hero. Tiris asks if she should report his absence again, and he just gives the green light to keep playing hooky. She's not having it though, warning him that just because he can body hop doesn't mean he should go full kamikaze. She even threatens to turn his next vessel into a total pretty boy, which is a wild way to keep him in line. Jinwoo just gives a deadpan look, clearly processing the chaos, while Tiris demands he finally get some sleep. Jinwoo's flashing back to his old life on Earth, where he was basically running on caffeine and pure misery. Then he's back in the grind of Arsilan, swinging his staff like a madman to keep the erosion at bay. He realizes he's been grinding for so long that he's completely forgotten what a day off even feels like. Staring at that massive, swirling vortex of doom, he knows the mana stones are ticking down like a death clock. He's hit a wall, just wanting to drop the act and finally get some peace and quiet for once. Suddenly, a weird, blinding light starts erupting from his own hands, and he's looking totally confused by the glow. The energy is spiking like crazy, crackling around him as he tries to figure out what the hell is happening. A massive pillar of pure, divine energy tears through the sky, shattering the gloom with absolute, overwhelming power. He's standing there, stunned, realizing his soul just hit a massive level up and awakened as a transcendent. After decades of busting his ass with zero results, he finally cracked the code just by letting go of his ego. Jinwoo reaches out, testing the air as if he's trying to grab a piece of his old life. He channels his mana into the void, forcing a massive, swirling rift to tear open right before his eyes. This is the Soul Gate, a permanent bridge to his home world that he can traverse in his ethereal form. He realizes he can cast spells through this connection, though it's going to cost him some serious soul power. Without a second thought, he dives headfirst into the swirling vortex, ready to see what's waiting on the other side. A blinding flash of energy erupts as he tears through the fabric of reality, leaving Arsilan behind in a heartbeat. Suddenly, he's hovering high above the skyline of Seoul, looking like a literal ghost haunting the modern city. He scans the familiar streets, his expression shifting from shock to a deep, heavy silence as the reality sets in. Staring down at the skyscrapers, he's spiraling because 100 years have passed for him, yet the city looks exactly the same. He's left wondering if he's a time traveler or if the dimensions just hit the pause button while he was away. Jinwoo's soul is literally glitching out as he realizes his old home is completely gone. He's hovering over the city streets, looking like a glowing neon sign in a world that's moved on. The guy is staring at a random building, confirming his worst fear that his past life has been scrubbed. It's a total existential crisis, realizing that not a single soul on Earth even remembers he ever existed. He's gotta pivot fast because this low-mana atmosphere is basically poison to his ethereal form. He zips through the air like a shooting star, desperate to find a physical anchor before he fades away. Suddenly, he catches a weird vibe coming from a fancy mansion, like a beacon in the dark. He doesn't hesitate for a second, diving straight into the house to see what's cooking inside. His eyes widen as he spots something unexpected, realizing he might have just hit the jackpot. There's a guy lying in a hospital bed, totally out of it, and Jinwoo's found his perfect new ride. The room is thick with grief, as the family stands by, watching their world crumble into absolute despair. The doctor drops the hammer, telling the chairman there's nothing left to do but say his final goodbyes. Jinwoo floats above the scene, analyzing the high-tech gear and wondering why this body is radiating such a strange aura. He quickly pieces together the identity of his host, realizing this is the genius grandson of the Osung Group conglomerate. Looking closer, he confirms the kid is basically a hollow shell, with his soul long gone and death knocking at the door. He decides this is the perfect vessel for his possession, fully intending to hijack the body before the light fades. With a flick of his ethereal hand, he begins the ritual, channeling his raw magical power to force a total physical reboot. Blue energy swirls around the comatose boy, acting like a magical defibrillator to jumpstart a heart that had basically given up. The room erupts in a blinding glow, leaving the onlookers stunned as the impossible happens right before their teary eyes. Suddenly, those brown eyes snap wide open, signaling that the great mage has officially checked into his new ride. Jinwoo sits up on the hospital bed, letting out a breath of relief as the possession finally clicks into place. The family is absolutely losing their minds, staring at him like he's a ghost that just decided to start breathing again. He's barely had a second to process his new surroundings before he's getting tackled in a massive, tear-filled group hug. The entire Osung crew is sobbing and shouting praises to the heavens, completely overwhelmed by this miraculous recovery. Jinwoo is visibly suffocating under the weight of their affection, desperately trying to get some personal space from the chaos. He's sprawled out on a bed later, staring at the ceiling and trying to make sense of this bizarre new reality. The guy is clearly drained, thinking about how this family's intense, smothering love is honestly a massive energy sink. He admits that living the high life as a wealthy heir isn't the worst gig he's ever had. But his mind drifts back to the shattered, corrupted lands of Arsilan, where the clock is still ticking toward total ruin. He's already plotting, wondering if Earth's heavy artillery could finally be the key to nuking that pesky erosion core for good. Jinwoo is crunching the numbers, realizing nukes and tanks are basically useless against the endless tide of monsters. He knows the only way to win is to destroy the hidden core, but logistics are a total nightmare. He sighs, feeling like he's hitting a brick wall while trying to brainstorm a way to save his world. Grabbing his portable console, he decides to zone out and clear his head with some classic gaming. He fires up Legend of the Dragon 7, a title he actually respects from his days as a director. The game's classic hero gathering loop is surprisingly addictive, even for a guy who's seen real-world magic. He starts daydreaming about how much easier life would be if he could just summon an army of heroes. Suddenly the screen flashes, and he pulls a 5-star mage summon ticket out of the digital void. His eyes go wide as the reality of the situation hits him, and he freezes in absolute shock. He drops the console, realizing he finally found the cheat code to trigger an actual Earthling hero summon. Jinwoo's master plan is officially in motion, using the Soul Gate to pull Earthlings into his war. He's framing the whole nightmare as a simple game to trick them into clearing out the erosion. It's a genius play, because Earthlings are immune to the corruption that turns locals into mindless monsters. He's basically weaponizing his past life as a dev to save a world that's currently on life support. The guy is fully committed to this hustle, acting like the heir to a massive corporate empire. He's got that main character energy, convinced that if he puts his mind to it, nothing is impossible. Back at the dinner table, the vibe is tense as he prepares to drop his bombshell on the family. The grandfather is all ears, ready to spoil his grandson with whatever he wants, no questions asked. But when Jinwoo mentions he's got a new project, the old man immediately panics, thinking he's back to overworking. Jinwoo just smiles, dropping the news that he's officially pivoting into the game development business. The family is absolutely shook, eyes wide as saucers, as the words game development drop like a bomb. The grandfather is trembling with pure disbelief, questioning if his grandson is really talking about those bleeping electronic games. Jinwoo just gives a thumbs up, clearly thinking he's finally found a hobby that won't get him killed. Everyone else is just confused, wondering why the kid is suddenly so hyped about playing video games. The chairman is actually tearing up, thinking this is the most wholesome news he's heard in years. He immediately pivots to business, asking if they have any failing game companies they can just dump on the boy. They settle on FS Games, a total disaster of a company that has managed to ruin everything they touch. Jinwoo is internally celebrating, realizing that a dying company is the perfect, low-stakes sandbox for his secret recruitment plan. He's back in his original mage body at the Magic Tower, relieved that Tiras didn't turn him into a pretty boy. He's multitasking like a pro, using auto-execution magic to puppet his earthly body while he chills in his true form. Jinwoo strolls into the library, ready to get the ball rolling on his master plan. Tia is deep in the zone, surrounded by floating books and scribbling away in her study. She's completely focused on her work, oblivious to the fact that her boss is creeping up. Jinwoo startles her with a sudden question, and she jumps like she's seen a literal ghost. She's totally flustered, clutching her pen and begging him not to sneak up on her like that. He brushes off the apology, noting that the legendary storyteller is still grinding away at her desk. Tia explains she's weaving all her tales into one, hoping to give the people a mental escape from the misery. Jinwoo praises her kind heart, clearly impressed by her dedication to keeping everyone's spirits from hitting rock bottom. He pivots to the real mission, asking her to imagine a total stranger suddenly dropping into their dying world. They discuss the ultimate challenge, figuring out how to motivate a hero who has zero reason to care about saving Arsilan. Jinwoo and Tia are breaking down the psychological profile of these Earthlings, realizing they need a serious sense of belonging to get them hooked. Tia gets that twisted look in her eyes, suggesting they lean into the classic tropes of love and absolute tragedy to manipulate their emotions. She paints a picture of a savage finding their ideal partner, only to have that dream ripped away in a heartbeat. The visual is brutal, showing a hero losing their lover right in front of them, leaving them shattered and screaming at the heavens. Tia is practically vibrating with excitement, her hands pressed to her face as she plots out this perfect, heartbreaking narrative. She's scribbling away like a maniac, laughing to herself about how they'll guide these players toward the enemy with manufactured grief. Jinwoo keeps the brainstorming going, suggesting they kill off a mentor figure to really twist the knife and force a revenge arc. He's looking satisfied, realizing that if they can make the players feel this deep personal loss, they'll fight for Arsilan without a second thought. The plan is locked in, using the game as a psychological trap to turn Earthlings into mindless, vengeance-fueled weapons for their war. Tia is totally unhinged, admitting that watching these players suffer and cry over her fake stories is going to be her favorite snack. Jinwoo calls out to Tia, who is clearly spiraling into her own little world of dark creative chaos. He pivots to the big picture, telling her that if they nail this project, millions of souls will consume her work. Tia is absolutely floored by the scale of his ambition, looking like she might actually faint from the sheer hype. She's totally losing it, obsessing over the idea of her twisted stories reaching hundreds of millions of people. The girl is so far gone she offers to become his literal slave just to make this masterpiece happen. Jinwoo watches her meltdown with a mix of concern and confusion, wondering if she's always been this unhinged. He steers the conversation back to the grind, planning a beta test with 3,000 clueless Earthlings in Rainsword. They lock in Ebent Village as the tutorial zone, setting the stage for the ultimate relocation tragedy. Tia is practically vibrating with sadistic glee, already imagining the players getting crushed by the emotional weight of their story. Jinwoo decides to let her cook while he preps the final proposal to ship off to FS Games. Jinwoo knows that just spinning a yarn won't cut it with the corporate suits. He figures they'll call him a total lunatic if he just pitches his wild vision. So he plans to build a hyper-realistic, immersive game world where players have absolute total freedom. It's basically sci-fi tech that shouldn't even exist yet, but he's ready to make it happen. Since his Soul Gate is currently a solo-only bridge, he needs a killer demo to sell the dream. He decides to start by gathering his loyal Arsilan subordinates to act out his tragic recruitment script. Reaching out through the mental link, he checks in with Baron Hasman to get the ball rolling. He orders the Baron to meet him at Rainsword Castle with his best guards, Halon and Haina. The mage teleports into the Grand Hall, surrounded by crackling blue mana as he arrives in style. His loyal crew is waiting at the gates, ready to serve their master's bizarre new theatrical demands. Halon is out here acting like a total fanatic, praying for blessings while looking absolutely unhinged. The whole crew is sucking up to Jinwoo, but he's clearly over their desperate, clingy energy. Haina is standing tall and ready to die for the cause, looking like the ultimate loyal soldier. Jinwoo is judging his own team, thinking the guys look way too much like cartoon villains for his game. He's got that devious smirk on his face, already cooking up a way to fix their aesthetic. He tests Hasman's dark magic skills, crackling with raw power while the Baron bows like a total subordinate. The boss man pulls out some dark, edgy robes, forcing his loyal followers to gear up for the role. Halon is having a full-blown religious crisis, screaming about sacrilege while wearing the dark priest fit. Jinwoo turns his attention to Haina, trying to figure out exactly how to slot her into his narrative. She's totally confused by his weird demands, wondering why he's trying to turn her into a generic game trope. Jinwoo pulls out a piece of clothing, forcing Haina to stare at the ridiculous outfit in total disbelief. She's absolutely losing her mind, questioning why her commander would ever ask her to wear something so impractical. He doubles down with that intense, glowing gaze, insisting that this absolute nonsense is for the greater good of Arsilan. The knight finally caves, and we see her clanking around in the new gear, looking like she's ready to fight a war in a swimsuit. He's clearly feeling himself, giving a thumbs up and claiming the look is perfect for his twisted game narrative. Poor Haina is still spiraling, asking if this tiny scrap of fabric is actually supposed to count as armor. He explains the logic of his home world, where apparently less clothing means you're basically invincible on the battlefield. The whole squad is standing there looking like a cursed RPG party, while the boss decides something is still missing. He considers bringing in Saintess Tebessa to add some drama, but then he takes one look at her and immediately scraps the idea. Realizing she's way too old for his aesthetic, he decides to pivot, flashing a devious grin as he hunts for a better lead. Two kids are sprinting through the castle halls, totally ignoring the rules while Eri the succubus struggles to keep up. Suddenly they run smack into the Lord himself, and the kids are absolutely stunned to see him standing there. Eri is panting and sweating, looking completely flustered as she tries to explain why these kids are running wild. Jinwoo just gives a cold, silent stare, clearly unimpressed by the lack of discipline in his own fortress. He points his staff directly at Eri, dropping the bombshell that she is going to be his new saintess. She is freaking out, pointing out that she is a succubus and literally only good for seduction. Jinwoo just smiles with that creepy, satisfied look, telling her that her race actually makes her the perfect fit. She is spiraling into a panic, terrified that this whole situation is just straight-up sacrilege. The Lord stands before his gathered forces, asking if everyone is ready to start the actual acting. Tiris kneels before him, confirming that she has successfully rounded up all 130 disciples for the mission. Tiris is looking totally confused, wondering why everyone is dressed like they're heading to a costume party. Jinwoo just drops the truth bomb that they're all basically just extras in his elaborate, high-stakes roleplay. He's holding that mana crystal like a director with a vision, acting like he has no idea why they're so stressed. The whole room goes silent as he announces his awakening, dropping the news that he's officially tapped into the soul gate. His followers are losing their minds with excitement, cheering for his success like he just won the lottery. He lays out the plan to summon Earthling heroes through the rift, using them as his personal anti-corruption squad. The boss man tells his crew to drop their day jobs, because their new priority is making sure these heroes can actually survive. He hands over a mana crystal, telling them it's packed with footage of their previous rehearsal. He's critiquing the performance, demanding more skeletons and a more epic, sacred vibe to really sell the drama. The poor guy holding the crystal is absolutely baffled, struggling to process why his master is so obsessed with video editing. The mage's subordinates are absolutely losing their minds, clutching their heads in total panic over his absurd demands. Jinwoo just sits there with a smug, golden-eyed grin, completely unfazed by their collective mental breakdown. They're whispering amongst themselves in a blue-robed frenzy, clearly struggling to process the sheer audacity of his plan. Suddenly, the scene shifts to these bizarre, cat-eared dolls that look like they were ripped straight from a kid's toy chest. Jinwoo points his finger with absolute authority, branding his magical assistants as the new face of his marketing campaign. The poor mages are left completely bewildered, wondering how they went from powerful spellcasters to glorified mascot performers. He spins a wild tale about these creatures being wish-granting legends from Earth, forcing his team to play along. Back on Earth, the bustling streets of Seoul serve as the backdrop for his next corporate power move. Jinwoo steps out in his sharp executive suit, looking every bit the part of a high-powered business shark. He's feeling unstoppable with his demo video locked and loaded, ready to greet his new partners and seal the deal. Secretary Kim Hansu steps into the frame, looking like a total unit and ready to serve. He introduces himself with a handshake, making it clear he's here on the chairman's orders. Jinwoo keeps it professional, acknowledging the introduction while they prepare to head upstairs together. Meanwhile, Han Yongxian is sitting at his desk, looking absolutely defeated by the company's downward spiral. He's deep in thought, obsessing over Jinwoo's genius reputation and those 5 PhDs he snagged early on. The guy is spiraling, wondering why a high flyer like Jinwoo would even touch a sinking ship like FS Games. Suddenly, the office door swings wide open as Hansu announces the arrival of the big boss. Jinwoo walks in with an aura of absolute confidence, looking like he owns the entire building. The air in the room literally cracks with magical pressure, leaving everyone stunned and confused. Yongxian stares through his shattered glasses, realizing that Jinwoo's presence is way more intense than any rumor suggested. Jinwoo takes the lead, making it crystal clear that he's the one running this show now. He flashes that signature, slightly unhinged grin, ready to drop the hammer on this failing studio. He wastes no time pointing out their recent failures, like the total flop of their last big project. The staff is sweating bullets, admitting they've basically driven the company into the ground. They're convinced he's here to pull the plug, but Jinwoo's actually got a much wilder plan. He tells them to wipe the slate clean because he's ready to build something completely new. He hands out the documents, giving them a first look at the madness he's been cooking up. They're staring at the title, totally confused by what this mysterious project Arsilan is supposed to be. He explains it's a virtual reality game, packed with all the lore and art they'll need to succeed. The team is already hooked, realizing this weird medieval meets modern vibe might just be their golden ticket. The lead developer is sweating, questioning why they're betting the farm on a VR platform that nobody even uses yet. Jinwoo just laughs it off, claiming this project is going to be such a massive hit that people will be fighting for copies. He slams his hand on the table, doubling down on his insane confidence while the staff watches in total disbelief. Standing tall, he declares that he's about to flip the entire gaming industry on its head with this single, mysterious title. He tells them that seeing is believing and demands they clear out the motion capture studio for a live demonstration. The entire development team gathers in the massive, empty studio, whispering about whether their new boss is a visionary or a total scammer. Some of the staff are already skeptical, wondering if this whole VR pivot is just a weird, elaborate con job. Jinwoo orders everyone to kill the lights, creating a pitch-black stage for the reveal of his secret magical artifact. He kneels on the cold floor, telling the crowd to step back as he prepares to activate the mysterious black cube. With a single touch, the cube erupts into a blinding, high-tech glow that leaves the entire room stunned and speechless. Jinwoo triggers the artifact, and suddenly the room is flooded with crackling, high-voltage blue mana. The developers are literally cowering on the floor as a massive, glowing magic circle manifests beneath them. One guy is absolutely losing his mind, screaming about how the grass and magic circles shouldn't be real. He's staring at the projection with wide, terrified eyes, completely unable to process the impossible sight before him. The entire team is scrambling in a panic, feeling the rush of wind as the environment shifts around them. A colossal red dragon suddenly tears through the sky, letting out a roar that shakes the very foundation of the studio. The staff is screaming for their lives, totally convinced that a real, fire-breathing beast is about to end them. Jinwoo stands there with a calm, smug grin, reminding everyone that this terrifying display is just a high-fidelity hologram. He gestures to the sprawling, vibrant landscape, officially introducing his skeptical team to the world of Arsilan. The projection reveals a breathtaking, dangerous realm filled with monsters, serving as the ultimate pitch for his new game. The developers are losing their minds, demanding to know if this hyper-realistic world is really the game he designed. Jinwoo just plays it cool, acting like it's no big deal while confirming their suspicions with a smug grin. He snaps his fingers to kick off the main event, ready to show them what real stakes look like. Suddenly, the sky turns a blood-red hue as a total eclipse swallows the sun, plunging the world into darkness. A massive skeletal hand erupts from the earth, shattering the ground like it's made of cheap glass. An army of undead warriors swarms the field, led by a cackling lick who's clearly enjoying the chaos. The undead commander screams for his minions to feast on the living, looking absolutely terrifying in the gloom. The developers are scrambling for their lives, realizing this nightmare might be way more than just a simple hologram. Jinwoo orders everyone to back off, his eyes locked on the incoming threat as he prepares to intervene. Hina dives into the fray with her spear drawn, ready to protect the group from the encroaching undead horde. Hina is absolutely shredding through the undead ranks, her spear moving like a blur of lethal precision. She calls out for everyone to stay calm, channeling a blinding, golden radiance right from her palm. That holy light erupts with enough force to send the skeletal army reeling back into the shadows. A spectral, angelic figure manifests in the air above, promising divine protection to the terrified onlookers. The developers are totally losing their minds, cheering like absolute maniacs for the Saintess and her knight. Jinwoo watches the chaos with a smug, satisfied smirk, knowing he's got them hooked on the spectacle. He's thinking about how perfectly the bait is working, watching his target audience fall for the narrative. Everything is clicking into place, and he's already mentally prepping the next phase of his grand design. The time for the climax has arrived, and he's ready to pull the strings on his new puppets. He cackles in his true mage form, thrilled to have finally secured a fresh batch of test subjects. The undead commander screams for his minions to tear the fools apart and feast on their flesh. Hina stands her ground with a battle cry, calling out for the Saintess to unleash her power. The Saintess reaches toward the sky, begging the onlookers to lend her the light within their hearts. The developers are totally caught up in the hype, raising their hands to combine their strength with the heroes. Hina lunges forward with a roar, her sword glowing with the raw energy of their collective belief. She strikes with everything she has, screaming that this final blow is for the sake of Arsilan. The developers are losing their minds, shouting their support in unison as they fully commit to the narrative. Hina's holy strike slams into the undead commander, tearing through his dark defenses like a hot knife through butter. The Lick is absolutely stunned, his skeletal frame cracking as he realizes his power is no match for this light. A massive explosion of golden energy erupts, completely obliterating the undead horde in a blinding display of victory. The undead commander lets out a final, guttural roar as he's absolutely dismantled by the holy light. He's left floating in the void, desperately reaching out to his master and begging for salvation. Jinwoo doesn't even blink, coldly dismissing the pathetic creature as nothing more than disposable, weak trash. With a flick of his finger, he unleashes a wave of dark energy that completely erases the commander from existence. The remaining undead army watches in horror as their leader is wiped out by his own creator. Jinwoo turns his gaze toward the terrified developers, his aura pulsing with an even darker, more suffocating intensity. The poor staff members are caught in the blast, screaming in pure, unadulterated terror as the magic overwhelms them. They're clutching their heads and begging for mercy, completely broken by the sheer scale of the nightmare. Even as the simulation fades, the trauma lingers, leaving them shaking and gasping for air in the dim studio. The entire team is left scattered across the floor, utterly defeated and psychologically shattered by their first taste of arsilan. Jinwoo stands tall, commanding the room like a king while his developers look on, completely shell-shocked. He flashes a grin that says he knows exactly how much he just blew their minds. The team is practically vibrating, begging to see the Saintess again while Jinwoo tells them to chill. The lead dev adjusts his glasses, still trying to process that he just touched a virtual world. He questions the safety of revealing such a massive trade secret, fearing the world might just implode. Jinwoo shuts that doubt down, telling them to spread the word that FS Games is changing everything. The developers are all in, pledging their absolute loyalty and promising to follow him to the grave. He tells them to dump their old-school knowledge because his new AI engine is the only future. The goal shifts from just making a game to straight-up dominating the entire global culture. With a fist in the air, Jinwoo rallies his new cult of devs to go out and make history. The internet is absolutely losing its mind over FS Games, with people calling it the future of Korea. But the comments section is pure chaos, with users roasting the company like it's already dead in the water. It's a total dumpster fire of opinions, with people screaming that the whole thing is just a massive scam. Someone even compares the hype to a crypto bubble, telling everyone to jump ship before they get burned. Meanwhile, Jinwoo is chilling in his private lab, totally unfazed by the fact that nobody believes his vision. His phone starts buzzing like crazy, and he picks up to hear his grandfather checking in on the drama. He plays it cool, telling the old man that the negative press is actually just free marketing for them. The grandfather pivots to the business side, asking for an update on how the actual development is going. Jinwoo drops the bomb that the prototype is finished, showing off the sleek tech he's been cooking up. He even casually mentions that the fishing mechanic is already good to go because priority's right. Jinwoo hits his grandpa with the fishing bait, and the old man starts flexing about catching house-sized sharks. He's clearly living in the glory days, bragging about wrestling a marlin like he's some kind of aquatic gladiator. Our boy Jinwoo plays along, casually dropping the invite to go fishing while he's stuck at his desk. The chairman sighs about his aching back, opting to stay home and skip the outdoor grind for once. Jinwoo doesn't miss a beat, telling him he's got something way more interesting to show him at home. He pulls out that sleek, high-tech VR headset, looking like he's about to change the old man's life. The chairman is skeptical, eyeing the device like it's just another piece of fancy plastic. He finally gives in, lying back to test the gear while Jinwoo preps the connection with a grin. The old man is shocked by how premium it feels, realizing this tech is leagues ahead of anything his own company built. With a final click, the system engages, and the chairman is instantly blasted into the world of arsilan. The chairman wakes up in a lush, vibrant forest, staring at his own hands in pure disbelief. He stands there in the middle of the woods, looking at his surroundings like he's just stepped into a dream. Jinwoo steps into view, welcoming his grandfather to the digital realm of arsilan with a casual grin. The old man is totally floored, demanding to know where they are and what kind of magic this is. Jinwoo explains that this is his proprietary virtual reality, showing off a portrait of the chairman in his prime. The chairman is losing his mind, realizing he's been transported into a simulation that feels disturbingly real. He touches his face, marveling at how his old, aching body has been replaced by his younger, stronger self. The old man is completely stunned, questioning how his grandson managed to build something so advanced in such little time. Jinwoo drops a smooth lie, claiming he spent his entire vegetative state plotting this out in his head. He grabs his grandfather's hand to pull him along, leaving the old man wondering where this wild journey leads. Jinwoo drags his grandfather to a pristine, sun-drenched lake, declaring it's time for some virtual fishing. The chairman is absolutely mesmerized by the view, totally blown away by how real this digital paradise looks. Jinwoo whips out his staff to conjure a portal, manifesting the gear they need to start the session. He hands over the rod, promising his grandfather that this system is designed for absolute ease of use. The old man takes the rod with a nostalgic smile, noting how it feels exactly like the one from his younger days. Jinwoo tells him to pay close attention as he prepares to cast, setting the stage for their little competition. The chairman gets a bite almost instantly, the water erupting as he hooks something massive beneath the surface. He's straining against the line, shocked by the sheer, unnatural strength of the creature pulling back. Veins pop on his arm as he refuses to yield, determined to prove he's still got that old-school grit. He yanks the rod with everything he's got, hauling a monstrous glowing fish right out of the depths. The chairman hauls in a massive, glowing blue fish that looks like it belongs in a fantasy epic. Jinwoo is absolutely buzzing with excitement, cheering on his grandfather for landing such an insane catch. The old man stares at his own hands in silence, processing the sudden return of his youthful vitality. He's hit with a wave of pure nostalgia, realizing he hasn't felt this alive in decades. The chairman lets out a boisterous laugh, clearly loving the rush of this hyper-realistic digital world. Jinwoo watches him with a calculated smirk, already plotting how to use this tech to hook Earthlings. They decide to capture the moment with a photo, posing next to the giant, shimmering trophy fish. The chairman is feeling like a total champion, flexing his muscles while sitting atop his massive prize. Later that night, the duo kicks back by a campfire to roast their catch in the wilderness. The old man is blown away by the sensory simulation, genuinely savoring the taste of the meal. Out of the shadows, a couple of local Rainsword patrol guards stumble upon our duo. They're clearly confused by these strangers, wondering who the heck these guys are and why they're camping here. The guards are baffled by the weird terminology, looking at each other like they've just heard a foreign language. One of them decides these two are definitely up to no good and need to be hauled before the local lord. Jinwoo doesn't even flinch, just drops a massive, terrifying aura that makes the guards freeze in their tracks. He tells them to scram because he's busy with a VIP, and the guards immediately bolt for the hills. The chairman is impressed by how fast they ran, wondering if it was just a glitch in the game code. They get back to business, with the chairman promising full financial backing to speed up this whole project. Jinwoo confirms he's taking the connection device back to the lab to iron out the remaining kinks. The old man starts complaining about his real-world aches, joking that he's basically ready to kick the bucket. With the chairman's massive wallet backing the project, development is finally hitting its stride. The team is grinding hard, cranking out convenience features to make sure the players don't rage quit. And thanks to that magic engine, the programmers are coding circles around their old deadlines. Tia's dark narrative is locked in, and the art team is busy crafting every single NPC. The staff is absolutely thirsting over Prince Leon, completely obsessed with his shiny, heroic aesthetic. These employees are basically fangirling at their desks, dying to see their digital crush move for real. The general manager is feeling left out, wondering if he'll ever actually get to step into Arsilan. He's salty that only the bigwigs get to test the goods, while the rest of them just watch. Jinwoo strolls into the office like he owns the place, greeted by a chorus of nervous employees. He drops the hype news that the connection device passed stability, meaning it's go time for production. Jinwoo keeps the hype train rolling, casually dropping that a director has a major announcement for the team. The lead developer looks on, clearly bracing himself for whatever wild curveball is about to be thrown his way. He reminds everyone about the massive Universe Unpacked event, the perfect stage to show off their new tech. The whole squad goes absolutely feral with excitement, realizing their hard work is finally hitting the big leagues. Jinwoo acknowledges their struggle, pointing out how they've endured endless hate just to reach this turning point. He rallies the troops, declaring that it is finally time to flip the script and drown the critics in praise. The office erupts into pure chaos as he promises to distribute the top-tier models for an internal test. Everyone is losing their minds, chanting his name like he's some kind of messiah of the gaming world. Jinwoo's phone starts blowing up with frantic messages from his grandpa, who is clearly obsessed with getting back into the game. The old man is literally spamming him, announcing he's ditching his vacation to storm the office and demand server access. The scene shifts to the massive Universe Unpacked event hall, a sprawling complex ready to host the biggest tech reveal of the year. Inside, the crowd is buzzing with restless energy as cameras flash and people whisper about the mysterious presence of FS Games. Tech reviewer Handel is already working the room, questioning why a failing studio would even show their face at such a high-profile event. He and his partner are convinced this is a total disaster in the making, betting that the company is about to crash and burn. They analyze the current state of the VR market, noting that the tech is still clunky, uncomfortable, and frankly, not ready for prime time. The skepticism is thick enough to cut with a knife, as they wait for the presentation to start and prepare their inevitable roast. An announcer takes the stage to build the tension, promising that a very special guest is about to drop a major business bombshell. The spotlight hits the center of the stage as Lee Jinwoo steps out, looking sharp and radiating an aura of absolute, unbothered confidence. The entire audience goes silent for a split second before erupting into a frenzy, recognizing the famous genius who cheated death. Jinwoo grabs the mic with a smirk, acknowledging the wild internet memes about his supposed inventions while he prepares to drop his real master plan. Jinwoo keeps the crowd on the edge of their seats, promising that while his tech isn't quite at the level of space travel yet, it'll blow their minds. He snaps his fingers with a flourish, signaling the start of his grand, reality-bending performance for the skeptical audience. Suddenly, a massive wave of water erupts right in the middle of the hall, leaving everyone absolutely stunned and soaked in the spectacle. The crowd is losing their collective minds, staring at the ocean projection and wondering if they're witnessing some kind of insane 4D tech. Jinwoo leans into the narrative, reflecting on how humanity conquered the seas through endless hardship before finally reaching the solid ground. The scene shifts instantly to a harsh, sprawling desert, showing how humanity pushed forward across grasslands and even touched the eternal, biting snow. He stands amidst a swirling blizzard, narrating how our ancestors conquered the highest mountains with nothing but pure, unadulterated courage and grit. The tech reviewers are completely floored, reaching out to touch the falling snow and realizing they can actually feel the freezing texture. He continues his epic speech, explaining that after mastering the land, humanity turned its gaze upward to conquer the vast, open skies. Jinwoo floats in the center of a cosmic void, posing the ultimate question about conquering the universe while admitting current science just can't keep up. Jinwoo keeps the crowd hooked, asking if they're really going to settle for a boring life without any epic exploration. He snaps his fingers with a sharp, magical crack, declaring that he's finally built the world they've all been dreaming of. Suddenly, a massive surge of raw, violet energy erupts from the stage, completely overwhelming the senses of everyone in the hall. The scene shifts to a blood-red sky hanging over a desolate wasteland, where a massive army of undead stands ready for war. A confused tech reviewer stares at the scene, completely baffled as a cute, bat-winged creature floats right past his face. Chaos breaks out as dozens of these bizarre, cat-like mascots swarm the crowd, leaving the audience in a state of total shock. Jinwoo stands amidst the madness with a predatory grin, gesturing to his creation like a ringmaster at a circus of nightmares. He unveils the full scope of the Arsilan saga, showing off his cast of heroes and monsters in one grand, terrifying display. The master manipulator holds up the Soul Link device, announcing that early access is dropping in just 2 weeks for the lucky few. The final screen flashes the store page for the Soul Link, sealing the deal for thousands of desperate, hype-filled gamers. The internet is absolutely losing its collective mind, questioning if this hyper-realistic VR tech is actually legit. Meanwhile, the skeptics are still digging in their heels, claiming the whole thing is just a massive, elaborate scam. They're already planning to sue the company if the product doesn't deliver on its insane, world-bending promises. Despite the mountain of hate, the Soul Link units are completely sold out, proving the hype is real. One tech reviewer is already plotting his career pivot, ready to become a full-time arsilan creator if this works. 2 weeks later, the sun rises over the vibrant, lush landscape of Arsilan, signaling the start of the invasion. Jinwoo stands in the forest with a smug, satisfied grin, watching the horizon for his incoming test subjects. He knows the heroes of Earth are finally arriving, ready to be molded into the pawns he needs. Haga the tavern keeper is already waiting at the Advent Tavern, flashing a welcoming smile for the new arrivals. But suddenly, a mysterious voice cuts through the tension, screaming for everyone to stop and wait a minute. Tia is absolutely losing her mind, barking orders at the innkeeper to fix his stiff, robotic acting. She demands he start stuffing his face with 6 meals a day to get that classic, plump innkeeper aesthetic. Next up is Thompson the blacksmith, who's standing at attention like a soldier while she checks his lines. The guy goes full method actor, swinging a massive hammer and cackling about breaking swords to simulate a gambling addiction. Tia is loving the chaos, pushing him to dial up the sarcasm to really sell the frustration of a failed upgrade. They debate the logic of failing a 99% success rate, but Jinwoo insists it's all about that sweet, addictive immersion. Jinwoo strolls onto the scene, giving his crew a solid nod of approval for their dedication to the script. He checks in on the Magic Tower's capacity, confirming they can handle 10,000 bodies before needing a major infrastructure upgrade. The mana stone shortage is still a massive headache, but he's keeping his cool while plotting the next move. He watches the bustling crowd with a smirk, knowing this manufactured hope is exactly what will keep his new heroes hooked. Tiris is stressing out because they still haven't found a knight who can actually pull off the role of Prince Leon. Jinwoo tells her to just grab anyone with a sword, but she's not having it. The concept art demands a total pretty boy. She's literally drooling over the design, insisting that the central hero needs to be an absolute stunner to hook the players. Jinwoo sighs, pointing out that every knight in Rainsword looks like a grizzled veteran instead of a polished, holy hero. He knows they need to make the players fall in love with Arsilan, and a rugged old man just won't cut it. He's deep in thought, realizing he needs a better plan than just scouting for local talent. Tiras struts over, suggesting he just creates a custom body and hops into it himself to save the day. She's cackling like a maniac, calling him out for just wanting to satisfy his own ego with a shiny new vessel. Jinwoo tries to play it cool, acting like he's got it all under control while Tiras leads him to his secret project. They walk into a room filled with creepy, doll-like figures, leaving the whole crew wondering what kind of nightmare he's cooked up. Tiras shows off a tiny, doll-like version of Jinwoo, claiming it's perfect for cuddling. She gushes over the squishy cheeks, but Jinwoo is having absolutely none of that nonsense. He flatly refuses to transfer his soul into a toy, knowing he'd probably suffocate from the sheer embarrassment. Tiras pivots to the real prize, gesturing toward a mysterious figure draped in a heavy red cloth. She warns them not to freak out, while Jinwoo and Tiras brace themselves for the big reveal. She pulls the fabric away with a dramatic flourish, finally unveiling her long-awaited masterpiece. A blinding, golden radiance erupts from the chair, signaling the birth of something truly divine. Jinwoo and Tiras are completely stunned, their eyes widening at the sight of the perfect hero. The light intensifies as the figure is revealed, showing off a body built for absolute perfection. Tiras brags about using dragon bones and synthetic fibers, claiming this vessel is the ultimate game-changer. Jinwoo flexes his financial dominance, revealing he dropped his entire fortune to craft this high-end gear. He boasts about using rare scales from Lord Helvey, forged by a dozen master dwarf artisans he personally hired. A dark, shadowy figure looms over him, questioning if Helvey really just handed over his scales without a fight. Jinwoo just smirks, unfazed by the ominous presence, and pivots to testing if the connection is actually stable. Blue electricity crackles through the air as the system activates, bathing the room in a blinding, magical glow. The two elves watch the display with wide, mesmerized eyes, clearly stunned by the sheer power of the connection. Back in Seoul, the city skyline looks peaceful, but the clock is ticking down to the Arsilan saga launch. Hebel is live streaming to her millions of fans, showing off her new Soul Link device while the chat goes absolutely feral. She admits she skipped the pro version to avoid getting scammed, opting for the standard model just to be safe. The clock hits 10, and as she slides the visor over her eyes, the digital countdown marks the start of the madness. The screen lights up with a prompt to connect, and the chat is already losing its mind over the insane realism. Hebel hesitates for a split second, wondering if she's about to get scammed or actually step into a new world. She takes a deep breath and clicks the button, fully committing to the dive as the interface pulses with energy. A blinding flash of light engulfs her as the Soul Link system kicks into high gear and initiates the transfer. Her vision is completely overwhelmed by a surge of raw magical data that leaves her gasping in total shock. Deep within the Arsilan core, the massive mana crystal flares to life, acting as the anchor for the incoming soul. The mages at the tower sense the surge, shouting that the first hero has finally arrived to begin the narrative. Hebel blinks, her eyes adjusting as the initial rush of the connection starts to fade into a dull ache. She finds herself floating in a vast, starry void, totally disoriented and wondering where the heck she just landed. Looking at her chat logs floating in space, she realizes she's actually inside the game and the audience is watching it all happen. Hebel realizes she's in a character customization screen, and she's already plotting her next move. She scrolls through the available races, weighing the pros and cons of being a human, elf, dwarf, or orc. Naturally, she picks the elf because she's gotta look the part, and she's already tweaking her avatar's proportions for maximum engagement. Boom, she spawns into the world as a high elf, though the system notes her agility is taking a hit from her assets. The chat is absolutely losing its mind over her design, calling her out for the blatant fan service while she wonders if she's finally in Arsilan. She's totally geeking out, eyes literally turning into hearts as she realizes this hyper-realistic world is actually real. The realization hits her like a truck that she's fully immersed in a virtual reality that feels way too legit. She's looking around like a lost tourist until a mysterious knight points her toward the starting village of Advent. This golden-haired hunk introduces himself as Leon, and he's already dropping the charm to guide her through the game. Leon flashes a smile that's clearly designed to make players swoon, and just like that, the narrative hook is set. The event village is absolutely popping off, with players spawning in and running around like they own the place. Some dude is literally praising Jinwoo like a deity while trying to recruit randoms to grind levels with him. Another player is confused as hell, asking if he's stuck in some weird martial arts transmigration trope. Hebel is soaking it all in, realizing she can finally ditch the real world for this immersive digital paradise. She spots a guard standing by the wall and decides to just walk up and grill him for directions. The guard gets totally blindsided by her sudden approach, clearly trying to keep his cool and stay in character. He clears his throat to hide his nerves, desperately trying to remember the lines he practiced for this moment. Putting on his best customer service voice, the guard welcomes her to the village and asks for her name. She flashes a massive grin and drops her nickname, Hebyul, looking like she's having the time of her life. The system officially registers her name, though it can't help but roast her avatar's physics for nerfing her agility. Hebyul is totally geeking out, realizing the guard is so well scripted he's practically indistinguishable from a real person. She tries to fish for a quest, but the guard just plays it cool and points her toward the guild. That massive building in the distance is clearly the hub for all the action, and she's hyped to get started. Meanwhile, the mysterious knight who guided her is already ghosting the scene, leaving her to wonder if he was just a glorified tutorial bot. She shrugs it off and starts trekking through the village, already scouting for her next big adventure. High above the clouds, Jinwoo is watching the whole show unfold, feeling pretty smug about how well his narrative is landing. He shifts his focus to the player's souls, activating his inner eye to scan for those hidden, high-potential traits. These traits are basically the secret sauce of a person's soul, forged by their life experiences and hidden from the standard UI. He runs a quick diagnostic on the new arrivals, but most of them are just bottom-tier fodder stuck at E or D rank. Just as he's about to write them off, something catches his eye that makes him pause and rethink the whole situation. Jinwoo's system flags Hebyul with an A-rank affinity trait, a broken ability that lets her befriend literally anything. He realizes her background as a streamer is the secret sauce that honed this insane social skill. The power doesn't just stop at people, as it can even manipulate mana, spirits, and divine energy itself. He decides to nurture this goldmine of a player to lead the charge in purifying the erosion. Hebyul finally arrives at the Adventurers Guild, staring up at the massive, ornate structure in total awe. She peeks through the heavy wooden doors, wondering if this is really the hub for all the action. Stepping inside, she's greeted by a lobby that looks like a high-end fantasy resort, complete with a red carpet. A stunning receptionist catches her eye, and Hebyul is instantly hit with a massive shock of surprise. Tia introduces herself with a smile that's clearly engineered to maximize player engagement and keep the hype levels at an all-time high. Hebyul is completely mesmerized by the NPC's beauty, while her chat goes absolutely feral, begging her to sign up immediately. Tia is busy scribbling down the official paperwork, formalizing the status of these new arrivals as Iron Rank adventurers. She hands over the starter pack, which includes an appraisal scroll, a subspace tattoo for inventory, and some pocket change. Hebyul is absolutely eating up the attention, getting a head pat from the elf receptionist while her chat goes into total meltdown. High above the city, Jinwoo watches the scene through his magical projection, his expression unreadable as he surveys his kingdom. He muses on the adorable nature of his new hero, but his thoughts take a dark, twisted turn toward wanting to break her. Tia is clearly smitten with the cute hero, but Jinwoo shuts her down, reminding her that the real chaos is just getting started. A bare foot suddenly stomps onto the scene, signaling the arrival of the absolute worst kind of players imaginable. A group of bizarre, half-naked veterans bursts into the guild, screaming for wine and acting like they own the entire server. Jinwoo watches the disaster unfold with a cold smirk, leaving Tia to deal with the absolute insanity of these unhinged trolls. The guild descends into pure, unadulterated madness as these veterans start eating quest forms and throwing themselves down the stairs. Players are absolutely losing their minds over the prankster title, which basically rewards them for being total nuisances to poor Tia. The achievement itself is completely useless, but that doesn't stop the masses from hunting it down just for the clout. Tia is sitting on the floor in a spotlight of pure misery, looking like she's hit her absolute breaking point. She's fantasizing about the day she finally sees these annoying heroes break down in total, crushing despair. Meanwhile, the real world is in full-blown panic mode, as news outlets confirm the Arsilan saga is 100% legit. Former haters are crawling out of the woodwork to issue pathetic public apologies, desperate to save face after being proven wrong. Global governments are scrambling to set up special programs, finally realizing they're staring at a literal new world order. Everyone knows that if they don't jump on this train right now, they're going to be left in the dust forever. Jinwoo struts into the office a week after launch, looking like a total boss while his team fawns over him. Outside, the streets are clogged with protest trucks from desperate fans begging for more soul links, even at a massive markup. Jinwoo is already crunching the numbers, confirming that 50,000 new Soul Link units are officially hitting the production line. He's locked in, staring down the scope of his master plan to finally kick off the first major erosion subjugation. The team is buzzing with hype, realizing it's finally time to drop the main story update and bring in the big guns. Prince Leon checks himself out in the mirror, looking like a total legend but clearly feeling a bit awkward about his own fame. He's got that golden boy glow down to a science, looking so ridiculously handsome it's honestly kind of unfair to everyone else. Jinwoo catches him mid-pose and starts roasting him for being a total narcissist, even though he's low-key proud of the result. Tyrus jumps in to coach the poor guy, forcing him to lean into that tragic, sorrowful traveler persona for the players. Leon is sweating bullets, wondering why he has to keep up this intense role play even when nobody else is watching. She gets right in his face, practically whispering the script into his soul to make sure he nails that dramatic, mysterious vibe. Jinwoo gives them the final thumbs up, telling Leon to keep that perfect, rose-tinted atmosphere locked in for the upcoming hero reveal. Prince Leon is totally wiped, asking Tyrus if there are any decent hunting grounds left to level up the new heroes. She admits she's got nothing on the map, but suggests they look beyond the eroded lands for better spots. Leon realizes he's out of options and decides he'll just have to borrow a high-quality location from someone else. He stands in a desolate, purple-hued wasteland, looking like he's about to start a fight with the very fabric of reality. Blue magical energy erupts from his staff, clashing against the dark, swirling tendrils of the erosion. He's visibly annoyed, muttering about how much he hates the vibe of this corrupted, unpleasant hellscape. The staff glows with intense power as he calls out into the void, demanding a greeting from the local inhabitant. He taps his staff against the ground with a sharp, magical knock, signaling that he's ready to force his way in. A massive, reality-tearing portal opens up as he casts his signature high magic, doorbell to bridge the distance. The dark energy swirls in anticipation, acknowledging that the great mage has finally arrived to claim his prize. The Lord of Erosion flashes a toothy, grotesque grin, claiming he sensed the mage's arrival long before the portal opened. This massive, multi-eyed monstrosity looms over Jinwoo, taunting him and asking if he's finally here to surrender his soul. A flashback reveals the horror of the core, where holy knights and priests are trapped as corrupted, mindless slaves. Jinwoo recalls his own past struggle, admitting he fought a lonely, losing battle against this entity all by himself. The monster mocks Jinwoo's defensive barrier, telling him to just accept his fate because he's already lost this fight. Jinwoo just chuckles, looking completely unbothered as he tells the creature he actually feels sorry for its pathetic existence. He points out that the Lord is a total loser who can't even leave the center of his own territory. The monster loses its cool, screaming at Jinwoo and demanding to know if he traveled all this way just to troll. Jinwoo keeps his composure, scanning the desolate landscape with a bored expression while searching for something specific in the ruins. He finally spots his target amidst the wreckage, confirming he's exactly where he needs to be to start the next phase. The system identifies a level 10 corrupted goblin, a mindless creature fueled by pure, unadulterated hatred for all living things. The Lord of Erosion cackles, mocking Jinwoo by claiming that erasing these mobs is a total waste of time. He insists that no matter how flashy the magic is, these creatures will just respawn within the erosion anyway. Jinwoo barely acknowledges the trash talk, simply gripping his staff as he prepares to flex his actual power. He slams his staff down, triggering a massive glowing magic circle that pulses with intense, crackling blue energy. The entire area is suddenly engulfed in a blinding, reality-bending light that seems to rewrite the local environment. The corrupted goblins are caught in the crossfire, looking absolutely terrified as the spell begins to tear them apart. Jinwoo channels the energy upward, casting a high-level spatial spell that leaves the Lord of Erosion completely shook. The monster screams in confusion, demanding to know what kind of insane scheme the mage is pulling off right now. Jinwoo just waves him off, casually informing the boss that he's officially been demoted to a mid-boss for the game's first episode. Jinwoo stands tall in the desolate wasteland, his robe billowing as he stops to deliver a final, stinging insult. He clenches his fist, making it clear that he's not just here to play games but to settle a debt. With a smirk that screams pure disrespect, he flips the bird to the entity, telling it to keep the change. The Lord of Erosion loses its mind, its multiple red eyes burning with pure, unadulterated rage at the blatant mockery. It shrieks in fury, threatening to end the mage right then and there while lashing out with dark, corrupted tendrils. Jinwoo effortlessly deflects the assault with a shimmering barrier, completely unfazed by the monster's desperate, flailing attempts to kill him. Meanwhile, our trio of low-level heroes is out in the woods, hyped up because they finally landed a real mission. They're moving through the forest, totally oblivious to the fact that their quest is about to get way more intense. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts as the sky darkens, leaving Hebiol and her party confused and checking their chat for answers. Out of the shadows, a pack of bloodthirsty, red-eyed goblins emerges, ready to turn this simple quest into a total nightmare. Our players are staring down these massive, purple-skinned freaks, wondering if they've accidentally stumbled into an elite-tier mob zone. The goblin lets out a blood-curdling screech, its glowing red eyes locked onto them with pure, unadulterated malice. The barbarian doesn't even flinch, puffing out his chest and bragging that he'll wipe these pathetic creatures in 3 moves flat. Suddenly, the goblin launches itself into the air with terrifying speed, catching the party completely off guard. The barbarian's eyes go wide as he realizes this mob is way faster than any tutorial enemy he's ever faced. With a blur of motion, the goblin strikes, forcing the party to scramble backward to avoid getting absolutely wrecked. The rest of the crew is panicking, their faces pale as they realize their standard tactics aren't cutting it. The mage loses his cool, screaming at the bastards before channeling his staff to unleash a massive fireball. Flames erupt in a blinding, golden explosion, engulfing the area as the mage desperately tries to burn the threat away. He's grinning like a maniac, asking the chat if he landed the hit, while the stream feed goes absolutely chaotic. The mage is going full try-hard, pulling off some wild combat maneuvers while the chat roasts him for wasting mana on a resurrection spell. Hebiol is backed into a corner, her bow drawn and shaking as she realizes these elite mobs are way too fast to handle. The goblins are closing in with pure, unadulterated bloodlust, and the party is already screaming that this is a total wipe. She's desperately trying to dodge, but the monsters are swarming her like a pack of rabid dogs in a horror movie. Terror takes over as she lets out a gut-wrenching scream, realizing her first real quest is turning into a complete disaster. Just as the goblins are about to finish the job, a flash of golden light cuts through the chaos. A clean strike decapitates the lead goblin in one smooth motion, leaving the rest of the pack totally stunned. Hebiol looks up, her eyes wide with disbelief as she realizes their savior has finally arrived on the battlefield. Prince Leon steps out of the shadows with a smug, heroic grin, asking if she's doing all right after that close call. He compares the complexity of their situation to a luxury watch, where every tiny, interlocking gear has to move perfectly to survive. The master craftsman meticulously assembles the tiny, intricate gears of his creation, ensuring every single component operates without a single error. He shifts his focus to the artificial body of Prince Leon, channeling raw, golden energy through his fingertips to bring the vessel to life. Tyrus watches in awe as the body manifests, boasting a perfect physique imbued with 24 layers of high-tier magic for maximum impact. The system highlights the flawless trait, ensuring that even dust turns into petals upon touching him, keeping the hero eternally beautiful. Leon's radiant halo aura shifts based on the emotions of the beholder, while his permeating scent trait emits a fragrance tailored to their deepest desires. Back in the present, Hebiol is completely starstruck, shielding her eyes from the blinding, divine radiance pouring off the night. She's totally losing her mind, struggling to keep her composure while her brain tries to process the sheer intensity of the moment. Leon leans in close to check if she's hurt, while the chat logs in the corner go absolutely feral over the interaction. He reaches out to cast a healing spell, and the golden light erupts around her, leaving the audience in total shock. Hebiol feels her energy surging from the magic, completely stunned as she realizes this world is far more advanced than she ever imagined. The donation notification pops up with a massive cash injection, proving the players are absolutely obsessed with Leon. Tia is fully leaning into the fan service, pulling off a 10-combo wink attack that's clearly designed to farm more engagement. She's acting like a total goofball while Leon just stands there, looking completely bewildered by the sudden shift in tone. He tries to play the concerned hero, offering to heal her supposed head injury with a touch of golden magic. More anonymous donors start dumping cash into the system, dangling a massive reward if she actually pulls off the mission. Jinwoo watches the whole circus from the shadows, his eyes cold as he wonders if he should keep pulling the strings. The system forces a new mission onto the screen, dangling 5 million won to make her do a humiliating rabbit dance. She's absolutely dying inside, hopping around with her fingers on her head while trying to maintain some shred of dignity. The humiliation continues as she keeps hopping, stuttering through her lines while the chat probably goes completely feral. She finally breaks down in tears, realizing that the raw power of money is the only law that matters in this game. Leon keeps up the act, insisting Hebiol needs temple treatment for her head while she throws a hilarious tantrum. The stream captures the exact moment she goes full goblin mode for the cash, cementing this as the year's top viral clip. They start trekking through the woods, with Hebiol low-key thirsting over how even the back of his armor looks legendary. Leon leads the way with that signature polished grace, telling her to watch her step like a true gentleman hero. She's blushing like crazy, thanking him for his concern while trying to keep her cool in front of the audience. He keeps the narrative tight, explaining that the goblins shouldn't be able to track them this far into the forest. Hebiol finally introduces herself properly, bowing low while Leon maintains his mysterious traveler persona for the cameras. He pivots to the lore, mentioning his investigation into the erosion and the strange corruption spreading near the village of Ebent. They discuss the sinister implications of the purple-skinned beasts, confirming that the erosion is definitely behind this weird mutation. Leon's eyes flare with a cold, magical blue light as he prepares to dive deeper into this manufactured mystery. The system logs show Hebiol is basically the golden child, racking up favors from every NPC in town. Jinwoo confirms her rank affinity is the real deal, marking her as the absolute MVP for his upcoming expedition. He reaches out, his hand glowing with magical intent as he tasks the warrior with wiping out those corrupted goblins. A massive quest window pops up, demanding a 200-man raid to unlock the main story and score some sweet affection points. Hebyul is totally shook, realizing she's finally landed a real main quest but wondering how she'll ever find that many people. Meanwhile, other players are out in the fields grinding away, busy gathering herbs and doing the grunt work to level up. She takes a deep breath, clenching her fist with pure determination because she's not about to let Leon down. She's fully committed now, shouting that she'll do her absolute best to make this mission a total success. Jinwoo is moving behind the scenes, jumping into the fray to cover the warriors and keep the narrative momentum rolling. He's out there helping the players hunt down beasts and gather rare herbs, playing the perfect hero to keep them hooked. Leon hands over a bag of supplies, acting like the ultimate generous benefactor to his new recruits. The players look absolutely shook, wondering if he's really giving away his own gear for free. He flashes that signature, blinding smile, claiming he doesn't need anything as long as he has them. Heartwarming stories about his kindness start flooding the community forums, turning him into a literal saint. One player shares a tear-jerking post about finally reconnecting with their mom because Leon inspired them to be brave. She describes the emotional moment she finally opened her door, feeling like a true warrior thanks to his guidance. The reunion ends in a flood of tears and apologies, proving just how deep the game's influence goes. She vows to stop living like a shut-in and start paying off her debts, fully embracing the warrior mindset. Jinwoo watches the chaos from his desk, feeling pretty smug that his psychological manipulation is working perfectly. He decides it's time to stop playing around and steps into the portal to accelerate his grand plan. Tira stands ready with her reports, greeting Jinwoo as he finally makes his grand entrance into the tower. He immediately grills her on the control device, confirming the connection is stable enough to manipulate the game's reality. That glowing core pulses with raw power, acting as the ultimate bridge between their world and the erosion's heart. Jinwoo realizes that cranking up the goblin spawns is the perfect way to force the players into a subjugation force. He orders Tiras to round up his key subordinates, including Hasman and Halon, to prep them for the next phase. A sinister smirk creeps across his face, signaling that he's about to drop some truly unhinged instructions on his crew. He's fully committed to the bit, ready to transform his loyal followers into the very monsters the heroes hunt. The lackeys arrive, practically tripping over themselves to offer their services, looking like absolute clowns in their eagerness to please. Jinwoo shuts down their desperate brown-nosing, telling them to sit tight until he's ready to reveal the full scope of his plan. Tia finally arrives to join the meeting, but Jinwoo looks like he's already over the drama before it even starts. Jinwoo gets absolutely blindsided by a face-to-face jump scare that leaves him totally rattled. He snaps back at the culprit, demanding to know why everyone is obsessed with getting right up in his grill. The scene shifts to a couch where Tia is completely sprawled out, clearly hitting a massive wall of burnout. She lets out a dramatic, over-the-top laugh, basically mocking the idea that everything is fine in their chaotic world. The absurdity peaks as a player literally poses naked on the furniture, while Tia sits there, utterly defeated by the sheer stupidity. She goes on a full-blown rant about the endless pranks and the useless titles that make her job a living nightmare. Jinwoo tries to play the voice of reason, begging her to stop wasting precious magic stone energy on her emotional outbursts. He pivots the conversation to his other subordinates, asking how Halon and Hasman are holding up under the pressure. Halon looks like he's seen a ghost, complaining that players keep pegging him as the secret villain just for existing. Even Hasman is catching heat, with players whispering that he's basically a goblin master in disguise. The struggle is real. Jinwoo is playing the mastermind, keeping his loyal subordinates in the dark just to watch their priceless reactions. He pulls out a sleek, modern gaming controller, looking like a total tech wizard in this high fantasy setting. Handing the device over, he drops the bombshell that they're going to be piloting goblins to train the heroes. The elves are absolutely losing their minds, horrified at the thought of becoming such filthy, low-tier monsters. Jinwoo doesn't even blink, hitting them with the cold truth that the heroes are just soul visitors who can respawn. He tells them to stop holding back and start grinding that combat experience, leaving his crew totally stunned. The subordinates are spiraling, wondering if they heard him right or if they've finally lost their collective marbles. They can't help but admit the controller has a weirdly fascinating design, even if the task is completely insane. He breaks down the controls like a pro, explaining that the magic tower handles the heavy lifting for them. The elf takes the controller with shaking hands, nervously asking if she's actually doing this right. The goblin is actually moving with some serious agility, darting through the forest like it's got a pro gamer at the helm. Back at the tower, Jinwoo is hyping up his crew, telling them they're crushing it and promising to ramp up the intensity. The subordinates are totally hooked, admitting that controlling these mindless mobs is a weirdly addictive way to blow off some steam. They're actually geeking out over the mechanics, with Hasman bragging about his tactical genius while the others just laugh at the absurdity. It's a total party vibe as they discover new moves, realizing they aren't just lonely NPCs anymore but part of a chaotic squad. They start roasting the ugly character models, laughing at how ridiculous they look while Jinwoo watches them with a cold, calculating gaze. He zooms in with his magical eye, monitoring their progress and ensuring the simulation stays perfectly tuned for the player experience. The group is absolutely losing it, laughing their heads off as they master the controls and embrace their new roles as monster pilots. Someone even snaps a group photo of their gaming session, setting it as the wallpaper on a smartphone like it's a precious memory. Jinwoo catches a glimpse of the screen and lets out a smug smirk, knowing he's successfully turned his subordinates into his personal puppet army. Jinwoo lays out the master plan, confirming that once the players wipe out those goblins, the world will finally recognize the erosion has officially invaded. This massive event marks the true beginning of main story episode 1, setting the stage for total chaos. He muses that if he times the second wave of Soul Link sales to match this hype, he's going to be printing money. Suddenly, the mood shifts as he stands up from his dinner, leaving his subordinates in a state of total, panicked confusion. He paces across the room with a look of pure, unadulterated shock, wondering what the hell just happened to his carefully laid plans. His subordinates are left bowing in silence, completely terrified as they try to figure out why their master is acting so weird. The tension in the room is thick enough to cut with a knife, as Jinwoo stares off into space, clearly processing some unexpected intel. Meanwhile, back in Arsilan, the players are losing their minds, screaming for a tank to help them crush the goblin threat. The town square is a complete disaster zone, with players ranting about lost herbs and begging for a chance to join the raid. Jinwoo finally turns his gaze toward the statue, his face pale as he realizes the game has spiraled completely out of his control. The corrupted goblin lunges with a savage, high-pitched screech, swinging its weapon with pure, unadulterated bloodlust. A massive fireball erupts as the knight desperately calls for magical support to hold back the relentless assault. Panic sets in for the hero, who can't believe a lowly goblin is actually casting high-level magic. The monster strikes with terrifying speed, forcing the knight to scramble as his defenses are pushed to the limit. Tiris is absolutely losing her mind, cackling with pure, unhinged glee while she pilots the goblin to victory. The team celebrates their sick combo with a high five, completely ignoring the chaos they're causing for the players. Tiris looks totally drained, her eyes hollow and dark as she realizes just how deep she's fallen into this gaming addiction. The whole squad is looking absolutely haggard, their faces glowing with a manic, purple energy from the intense session. Jinwoo watches the disaster unfold, desperately trying to convince himself that this is all just a big misunderstanding. Reality finally hits him like a truck, confirming his subordinates are just straight up bullying the heroes for fun. Jinwoo checks the latest goblin intel, only to find Tia absolutely losing her mind while clutching the controller. She's screaming for total annihilation, completely unhinged as she revels in the digital carnage she's orchestrating against the players. The system logs confirm a level 10 hero slaughterer is on a rampage, racking up a body count that's honestly just disrespectful. That combat record is brutal, showing a trail of defeated players who stood zero chance against her toxic high-speed tactics. The battlefield is a graveyard of fallen heroes, leaving everyone wondering just how many more are going to get wiped out. Tia and her crew are cackling like maniacs, clearly having the time of their lives while Jinwoo watches on. The goblin pulls off a savage, humiliating move, proving that these NPCs have officially mastered the art of the troll. Players are absolutely fuming, pointing fingers and screaming about the sheer audacity of these goblin bastards. Jinwoo just shrugs it off with a smug grin, convinced that this level of frustration is exactly what the players need. The crowd outside is buzzing with pure, chaotic energy, confirming that his plan to stir the pot is working perfectly. The subjugation squad is coming together way faster than anyone anticipated, creating a massive buzz among the player base. Prince Leon is locked in, checking his gear with a calm confidence that screams he's ready to dominate the field. He strides forward with that main character energy, looking like he's about to single-handedly carry the entire weight of this mission. With a sharp, charismatic grin, he signals the start of the operation and invites everyone to follow him into the fray.